Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how you doing this week?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm super excited to talk to you tonight because you're on property and you got to experience something that's brand new. It is a new lounge, GEO-82 in Epcot.
It is, and it was exciting to be there. It is not only a new lounge, but it is a unique lounge. It is one of only two places on property that are 21 and older only. So right up there with Victoria and Albert's, kind of a unique distinction.
Yeah.
And you can't possibly say that you didn't know, because when you go into the app to make your reservation, it gives you a pop-up before you can even see availability to confirm that you understand the age restriction.
Got it. Okay.
So I have to say, in more ways than one, it really made it an escape up in the sky, a real quiet little oasis, a unique opportunity, but a very limited and small opportunity.
Well, I mean, you're mentioning in the sky and this and the other thing. So there may be somebody, it's doubtful, but there may be somebody that's listening to this that doesn't know what we're talking about. So talk to us about getting to this particular location, how you found it, where it is, etc.
So, as you said, it is an Epcot. I think it's kind of their little hidden gem because it is not well signed. If you use the app, I mean, I knew that this is on the second floor in Spaceship Earth, an area that in the past has not been available to the general public. I have been up there before for a private event, but it was kind of unknown how we were going to get in. And so I pulled up my handy dandy My Disney Experience app. I went to GEO-82. I hit the little button that says map take me there, and it took me to nowhere. Well, it took me somewhere.
You
It
weren't
just
hanging
didn't
out with the
take me there.
Phoenicians, is what you're saying.
I'm like, unless it's a really like a speakeasy and I have to crawl between those two bushes,
Right.
this is not the location.
No.
Um, so it is a little bit of a hidden gem. You're going to head in under the sign where it says Project Tomorrow, that exit area of Spaceship Earth where you kind of get to look around, see everything, the pictures of you floating in space are there.
Sure.
And it's not until you're inside that area that you will see a very small bit of lettering on the wall that is their unique shape, that is their logo, and the GEO-82 all lit up. You're going to head down this really cool looking orangey bronzy hallway with a great light fixture above. It's really all about that light. And if you're going later in the day and you walk past Spaceship Earth instead of inside, if you look up, you will see the windows and these cool light fixtures hanging there as well. But at the end of the hallway, you're going to be met by a greeter. He or she will get you all checked in for your reservation. At the moment, they really are operating at 100% occupancy. When I spoke to them, they told me they unfortunately have been turning away walk-ups like crazy.
Sure.
But remember, dining reservations, which this is, even though it's a bar, need to be canceled 2 hours or more prior to the reservation. So if you're in Epcot and this is the be-all and end-all for you, keep checking the app throughout the day, especially if it's a rainy day. People tend to change plans. It might just open up.
So you mentioned that right now it's reservation only, but obviously with that, sometimes there's still a wait for things like that. So what was the wait like for you to experience what you had?
So they're really trying to create the ambiance of this. Once the greeter checks you in, you're sent up a spiral staircase, or there is an elevator, where you are greeted by a second greeter who has a scented cool towel for you.
Okay.
And again, we all talk about the resort smells and the candles, and they really get you there. This one, it took me a bit. Used it on my hands, and then, of course, I'm standing there sniffing my towel. till I finally have to say to her, "This is such a familiar scent, but I can't get it." And she said, "You're not going to get it. None of us got it." But it is their own blend of lemongrass and lavender. It is a phenomenal smell that you wouldn't think makes a combo,
Right.
but it really sets the tune. Low lighting there. There is a seating area there, very unique pictures of Epcot, and they do have menus in the waiting area. Again, it's a small space. They're trying to get as many people in as possible. So I think they're strongly encouraging you to look over their menu, which is very unique, before they even get you to a seat.
Okay, so give us the visual then once you're in. Like what are we looking at? What is it facing? What are we seeing? For those of us that are going completely blind, paint the picture for us visually.
Another hallway to get you into the lounge area, and then you've got the view of all views. Straight in front of you is the back of the new Walt statue. Keep looking straight, kind of above Walt's head, and you're viewing right into World Showcase, into the lagoon, American Adventure. Look off to your right. You've got Figment there. It is the view of Epcot, with the obvious exception of Spaceship Earth, which you're inside. You've really got this 180 view of the park that's phenomenal. You know, you're raised above everything, so you're able to take it all in. Great way to see things.
That sounds awesome. All right, so let's jump into what you had there, like what you enjoyed there. Obviously, what you've mentioned a couple of times, bar, lounge area. So let's talk about the drinks, because I know that there were definitely some drinks there that were probably created for that particular space, and some stuff that maybe weren't, but were probably good nonetheless. So talk to us about the drink options.
I loved their menu and the unique look of their menu. So the menu starts off with kind of getting you ready. Drinks in the lounge are served in 5 different glasses: an old fashioned glass, a rocks glass, a coupe, a Nick and Nora glass, and a highball.
Okay.
Then there's an ice menu. I mean, come on, an ice menu. Where have I ever seen that? So incredibly cool.
Like
Because they offer,
shapes, you're talking like
yep,
shapes or
four
flavors?
different kinds of ice.
Okay.
There's spheres, there's large cubes, rocks, pretty much regular ice,
Right.
and then a spear. So sphere and spear. And then some of the large cube ice is also embossed.
Okay.
So one of my drinks was a large cube drink with a Spaceship Earth embossing on my
Oh,
ice.
that's
I
fun.
mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And then it goes over the preparation of the drink. They've got stirred drinks, shaken drinks, and ones that are topped off with carbonation. So again, I, being one of those geeky people, kind of, when you go through the menu, each menu item shows you one of the 5 glasses, one of the 4 types of ice, and one of the 3 types of preparations. So, one from column A, pick a
Sure.
different one in column B. I really kind of played around with what I wanted.
That's fun.
The fun, unique part of that is their cocktail menu. They do have a couple of zero proof options. They do have a couple of the, standard beers that you could find pretty much anywhere. They do have 2 champagnes and 7 wines, but the cocktails are really where it's at. Talk to your server if you're in doubt. He took a lot of time and went through the menu with me, what things I might like, what things I might not. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge whiskey drinker, which is one of their big things.
Right.
And I kind of looked at the menu and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? And my thought was, I often order multiple drinks, as you've heard me talk about before, so that I can try them all. And I figured I'd have a sip of this and a sip of that and be done. I have to say, I might now be a bourbon and whiskey girl.
Every time you talk about this, you say like, "Oh, I don't really love it," and then you come around. Bourbon just comes around on you. As a bourbon guy, I appreciate that.
So they have a brown butter old fashioned,
Oh, it sounds
and
you had me already. At brown butter, you had me.
it was so amazing. Um, it was the one that had big my big ice cube with my spaceship Earth embossed on it. So just
Sure.
looking at it, kind of cool. A little orange peel with an olive in it, and Mexican chocolate bitters.
Mm,
Heavenly, heavenly drink.
sounds great.
Um, so awesome. And then I went for the peach shrub whiskey smash.
Okay.
It's a whiskey with sherry, a little bit of peach and mint shrub, and a little bit of bubbles.
Nice.
Again, I wasn't sure it was me. I'm one of these people. I'm also peeking around the lounge, looking at what's being delivered to everybody else while I make those decisions.
Yeah, of course.
Um, it sounded like most of the ingredients that I liked. That puppy went down pretty quickly. It
You're
was an
remembering
empty
that one for when you get home.
it was an empty glass by the end, and if I hadn't driven myself to Epcot, the old fashioned would have been as well.
Nice.
Price wise, they're a little on the high end, but it's Disney. The old fashioned was 28, the whiskey smash was 26. And then just to make sure that I got in some different glasses and a different piece of ice, the brulee banana highball.
Ah,
Again, another whiskey with banana flavoring, coffee, cacao, and a little bit of soda on top.
interesting.
Also, a must not miss. And if you're not into all of the creative cocktails, they do have an exclusive bourbon flight.
Hmm.
4 bourbons, some that are just Disney unique bourbons. $49. I didn't think it was a horrible price for the flight. I would say if you're not huge bourbon drinkers, but you want to try something, the servings were enough that you could do 2 people on one flight and kind of really enjoy it. So we definitely got in some drinks. There's some I will be back to try again.
Nice.
Um,
I mean,
they
it
do
sounds great.
have a small bites menu, and it is a very small bites menu because, again, this wasn't a big space before. It was not a huge kitchen. Um, it is a more unique palette. Again, this is an adult only restaurant. So we're not doing, chicken fingers and onion rings as our options.
Right.
A charcuterie board with artisanal cheese and cured meat, a hummus platter, a mushroom flatbread, which I can never turn down pizza. Um, Miso, mascarpone, mozzarella, fontanella cheese, 3 cheeses. I mean, how bad could it be?
No,
With
doesn't get
a
better.
black garlic molasses that was excellent and pickled red onions. It is by far the most unique flatbread I have ever had. It reminded me more of like a phyllo dough, so a really unique thing. Again, if you wanted to share, definite light bite, smaller portion. And then a truffle ahi tuna or a jumbo lump crab. This is a seasonal menu and will be rotating. I will say, if you're listening to me, Disney, the missing item from this menu was a chocolate dessert. I did a
Mm,
lot of research while sitting there and looking at their menu and sampling my drinks. Both bourbon and whiskey pair well with chocolate.
yes, yes, they
I'm
do.
thinking a Nutella cheesecake is the missing menu item.
Well,
So
we'll see. Hopefully, they add that. It is seasonal, so maybe it'll
it,
rotate
it
in.
definitely, I think a dessert would have been great, especially they do open on the earlier side. You can get in right before lunch, all the way up through fireworks. So it would be nice to get some desserts for the later evening time.
Well, you mentioned fireworks, so let's kind of go there, right? Because you talked about the angle by which you see the entire park. So the fireworks view seems like it would be a natural fit for this particular place. Obviously, it's Disney, so there's a package that you can add on to that, obviously. So talk to us about what that looks like.
It is, I'll be honest, it is a pretty high-end package because it has some high-end inclusions. It is 179 a person plus tax plus an 18% gratuity. You are guaranteed a window table, so others may be able to be in the lounge during fireworks, but you may not have seating near the window, and you don't get the same delivery of items. This has a special champagne split delivered for your table. If you don't do champagne, you can request a exclusive cocktail. It comes with a tasting tower of light bites while you're sitting and waiting for the fireworks. And then they did nail it, and they bring you a selection of sweets to enjoy during the fireworks.
Sounds
As
good.
we talked about with other parties, again, beware if you're doing this as a couple, you're looking at $360 plus tip plus tax, and there is no guarantee of fireworks. So if Luminous, the Symphony of Us, is canceled due to weather, you still are obligated to that package.
And you still enjoy it. You just get no view, is what you're
You
saying.
get no view. You
Yeah.
get some twinkle lights that you
Right.
can see out in the park, and you get to enjoy watching people run with their umbrellas.
All right. Well, listen, are there any tips that you have now having gone? I mean, and to me, it sounds like an experience that I would definitely enjoy. But for anything that we haven't shared so far, what other tips do you have to offer folks?
I thought it was a great experience. As I said, some really fun cocktails. Seeing it, I got there at about 6. So I got to see it in daylight and then through sunset. So seeing the park day and night in
That's
that
pretty
one
perfect.
visit
Yeah.
was great. There is pretty limited seating. I would say it holds about 70 people at a time. And of those 70 people, about a dozen are seated at the bar. I know there are some people who love sitting at a bar and chatting up the bartenders. However, if you are seated at the bar, your back is to the amazing view. So, my one suggestion is if you want to be looking at the view while you're enjoying your cocktails, make sure that when you check in, you tell them you'd prefer a table to bar seating.
And my assumption is that may extend to wait, right? I mean, that's
Might,
possible.
but again, those cocktails were really smooth and relaxing. I won't say that the restaurant was quiet. There was very light background music. There was definitely the hum of people chatting and laughing and having a good time.
Sure.
But it was a 21 and over restaurant. So there were no meltdowns. There were no little screeches going on. You can really sit and relax and take your time. So, again, especially with a restaurant that boasts those kind of views, I would trade an extra 5 or 10 minute wait for the incredible view.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and going down. This was something that's been on my list of things to hear about, to see about, and then hopefully very soon to try. So you sold me. You sold me with the bourbon and the whiskey and then the view. I'm in. So the next time I'm there, if God willing, we can pawn our children off on somebody else for a couple hours. I'd love to
Just
hit it
wait
up.
down here. These games are a lot of fun to
Oh,
play.
they love those games.
That is a joke. We are not encouraging anybody to leave their children without an adult.
No, of course not. But thank you for taking the time to go and do it, and thanks for taking the time this week. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks so much.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Dis. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like, and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Dis by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week. And as always, keep making memories.